Have you ever experienced the feeling that the deeper you think, the more isolated you become? As your understanding grows, you might find that fewer people want to listen. It's not just in your head, this is a real social phenomenon. The more you comprehend about the world, the more your thoughts diverge from the surface-level opinions that dominate conversations. It's not that you are wrong, it's that your insights force people to confront uncomfortable truths they're not prepared to face. As a result, you may feel more disconnected, despite knowing more than ever. Throughout history, the most profound thinkers have faced this very isolation. People like Socrates, Galileo, and Nietzsche didn't just challenge existing beliefs, they altered the very way humanity viewed the world. These thinkers often found themselves rejected or ridiculed, not because they lacked intelligence, but because their ideas made others uncomfortable. This discomfort stemmed from their ability to see beyond the ordinary, something that society isn't always ready to accept. But why does society react this way to deep thinkers? The reason can be traced to human psychology. Consider this. When you encounter someone who is physically stronger than you may admire their strength, but you don't feel personally threatened. Similarly, when meeting someone wealthier, you might feel envy, but it doesn't create a sense of inadequacy. However, when you meet someone more intelligent than you, something else happens. You might feel challenged at a core level because intelligence directly confronts your sense of self-worth. Intelligence is an internal characteristic tied to identity, unlike wealth or physical strength. This dynamic is what psychologists refer to as the mirror effect. Deep thinkers don't just introduce new ideas, they mirror back to others the limitations in their own understanding. This can be uncomfortable and even threatening to some, even if the deep thinker has no intention of provoking anyone. But why does this intellectual discomfort feel so intense? It comes down to how the brain processes intelligence. Intelligence challenges our sense of self and can make us feel inadequate. When someone presents a deep or complex idea, it's not just an intellectual challenge. It forces us to reckon with the limitations of our own thinking. For many, that's not easy to accept, and so we instinctively push back against it. The deep thinker, without even saying a word, may highlight the gaps in our knowledge or understanding, and this forces us to confront our own insecurities. Despite this, there's an intriguing aspect of social behavior that explains why society often chooses simplicity over complexity. In group settings, people tend to value confidence far more than intellectual depth. It's not necessarily intelligence that people admire, but the certainty with which someone presents themselves. Studies show that individuals who exude confidence, regardless of their level of knowledge, are more likely to gain influence than those who speak in nuanced, thoughtful ways. This preference for simplicity over complexity is why figures like motivational speakers, populist leaders, and viral influencers tend to dominate public life. These figures often thrive by giving people easy answers and emotional reassurance. They don't challenge their audience. Instead, they tell them what they want to hear, providing comfort instead of truth. The deeper you think, the more you disrupt the comforting simplicity of the world around you. The ideas of deep thinkers challenge the familiar and force others to confront their own intellectual shortcomings, and this makes them uncomfortable. In contrast, those who challenge conventional wisdom or present complicated ideas often struggle to find a large audience. These thinkers don't pander to popular sentiments. They demand that others question their beliefs, and as a result, they are frequently marginalized. The paradox is clear. The more someone understands the world, the more they find themselves at odds with the majority who prefer comfort and certainty. But the desire for certainty isn't just a social preference. It's ingrained in human biology. Studies have shown that when people feel intellectually inferior, their brain's amygdala, the part responsible for detecting threats, becomes highly activated. This means that intelligence, more than any other trait, triggers a primal fear response. In evolutionary terms, this makes sense. Our ancestors depended not on intelligence, but on being accepted by the group for survival. Social isolation meant vulnerability, and this fear of isolation was baked into our DNA. This fear response is an automatic defense mechanism. When someone with a superior intellect enters a group, it disrupts the social harmony and makes people feel vulnerable. This is why deep thinkers often experience rejection, not because they are socially awkward or unlikable, but because their intellect inadvertently challenges the stability of social norms. It forces others to reckon with their own intellectual limitations, which can feel like a threat to their place within the group. The cognitive biases that contribute to this resistance to intelligence are well documented. Researchers have identified several key psychological factors that explain why people are often threatened by deep thinkers. One of the most well-known is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This cognitive bias occurs when people with limited knowledge or skills overestimate their own competence. Meanwhile, people who are highly knowledgeable tend to underestimate themselves. As a result, those with less understanding often believe they know more than they do, which leads to a dismissal of deeper thinkers. Another bias is status quo bias, the human tendency to prefer familiar ideas over new, challenging ones. When deep thinkers introduce fresh perspectives that disrupt the established way of thinking, people resist. The status quo provides comfort, and change is uncomfortable. Intelligence, by its nature, challenges this comfort, forcing people to question their beliefs and habits. This resistance to change is hardwired into human psychology. Finally, there's the backfire effect, a phenomenon where people double down on their existing beliefs when presented with information that contradicts them. Rather than reassessing their views, people become more entrenched in their original ideas. Deep thinkers often experience this effect when they present complex or contradictory ideas. Instead of sparking curiosity or thoughtful debate, these ideas are often met with resistance and defensiveness. In today's world, these cognitive biases are exacerbated by the rise of social media. Algorithms on platforms like Facebook and Twitter prioritize engagement over substance, meaning emotionally charged, simplistic content spreads faster than nuanced, thoughtful discussion. Deep thinkers may find their messages drowned out by viral, superficial ideas that attract more attention. The pressure to simplify complex thoughts into short, attention-grabbing sound bites means that many thoughtful ideas are lost in the digital noise. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers in history, recognized the tension between intelligence and social acceptance. Schopenhauer famously said that a high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. He believed that intelligence, rather than being a gift, was a curse that isolated people from the very society they were trying to engage with. Schopenhauer argued that for most people, life is driven by the will to live, a blind, irrational force that pushes people to seek comfort, pleasure, and survival. This drive often leads people to avoid discomfort, to seek distractions, and to cling to superficial pleasures. In contrast, highly intelligent individuals develop the will to truth, a deep and insatiable desire to understand reality as it truly is, whether or not it brings comfort. This drive to understand the truth can make intelligent people feel disconnected from the rest of society. While others are busy chasing wealth, power, or pleasure, deep thinkers often see these pursuits as shallow distractions. Schopenhauer believed that this disillusionment could lead to feelings of alienation and loneliness. The more you understand, the more you see through the illusions that society clings to. The more you see the futility of human desires, the more disconnected you feel from the world around you. Schopenhauer didn't just diagnose the problem, he also offered a solution. Embrace solitude. He didn't see solitude as a punishment, but as a privilege. For deep thinkers, solitude is an opportunity for intellectual and creative pursuits, free from the distractions and superficialities of the outside world. It is a space where deep thinkers can engage with their own thoughts, develop their ideas, and resist the pressures of conformity. Schopenhauer believed that the only way to cope with the isolation that intelligence often brings is to embrace it. Solitude allows deep thinkers to explore the depths of their own minds without the need for external validation. They should seek intellectual companions who share their passions, even if these companions are few and far between. Schopenhauer encouraged intellectuals to engage with the world thoughtfully and selectively, observing society without becoming entangled in it. The more we understand the world, the more we may feel disconnected. But that very disconnection can also be a source of power and insight.